In this video, I'm going to show how I paint this snail. So this is the sketch, and in this folder, I'm going to first make the layers that I'm going to paint. So with the selection tool, and in a bit I will show which tool that is, I'm making the selection of the head like this. And you can see me clicking to go through it, but if you hold it, you can draw with it. So I will start with the values and using this gray. And I do that because then I first can focus on the values I want to use and on the on the layers I want to use. So I don't have to think about colors in this phase yet. So this is then the first one, and you could name those layers. A lot of times I'm not doing that, and let's do that other part. So you can also zoom in to do that. So I'm going through, following these shapes, following this line art like this, filling it, and then erasing these parts. And then we have the body. And then let's do the eyes. So here, doing the eyes like this. So I want to have this one separate from that other one. So behind that is eye number 2. So drawing that with the lasso tool. So there's a small delay, I think, because I'm recording this. It makes my PC a little bit smaller, a little bit slower. So now this, I think I will put it behind this layer. And then I'm going to add these things. So I'm pressing L shortcut, but you can also use this in a toolbar, the lasso tool. And if you press Alt, you can use that click select. So I would recommend to play around with that. It's not that difficult, but if you play around with it and see what happens when you're holding Alt or when you're holding Shift, then you get all these different effects. So, and now you can see I'm still continuing filling in those shapes with the selection tool. So this, this part is quite a boring part. And oftentimes when I'm doing something like this, I'm watching a movie or listening to a podcast. So here, continuing with doing this. And still, it's important to do this as good as possible. But it's something you can do when you're watching a movie or doing something else. So that's no problem. It doesn't require a lot of thought process. So let's add the shadow here. So the light is coming from the top right corner. So that means that the shadow is here. And you can also press Ctrl U to get the UE saturation and make it a little bit darker, like this here. So now we can start adding in some pupils. So like this. And then what kind of brush is this? Oh, I want to have a hard brush. So going to these brush settings and do this. So a lot of times I'm using just these regular brushes to do this. So here, adding the irises. So here, filling these ones like this, filling this with the paint bucket, pressing G for that. What I also do is when I press V, you get the selection tool, and then Control click on the layer you want to select, and then it automatically selects that layer you want to use. And when that doesn't work, it's probably some other setting. And you can actually, if you press V or go in your toolbar for the select tool, you get auto select. And if you turn auto select on, it automatically selects the layers you click on. I always have that off, so I need to press Control to select those layers. Let's see, what kind of values can I still add? Yeah, I think that head. So I have that head selected. And then I will draw in this shape. So I think a little bit more secure to get those corners right. But those are also things you can fix in the next stage. And fill this. And then so like this. And then we can do the same with the body. So Control click. So for what I just did, so selected this layer, and then I Control click on the thumbnail, and then make a new layer. Then use that brush, paint in the selection on a new layer. So like this here. Then we've made this. And zoom out. And oh yeah, what can I maybe tell more about the panel options? If you go to your layer and then panel options, you can change the thumbnail size. So this makes the thumbnail size bigger. I always like this smallest size. But then thumbnail contents, I always use layer bounds. So if I do entire document, you can see what's on those layers. But if I'm doing here this layer bound, you see the content of those, and that I find it really useful. So now let's start to add some color. Press this button, and what this does is, for example, I think a green. I'm doubting, maybe I want to have a purple. I think that's cool. It looks a bit more like an alien. So here we have, so now I'm painting on this layer, and you can see that, yeah, I'm just painting over the whole drawing. But when I press this button, you see I'm painting within the shape, like this. And that's really useful for painting. Clicking the next layer, selecting this icon, and filling that with color. The same for these parts, like this, like that. And then maybe I want to have, so colors is, so this is purple. And I think I want then to have, I think it's nice to have this orange color as the body, because it's opposing colors. So that means that you have in the color wheel you have orange, and the opposite color of orange is purple, and vice versa. But what am I going to do with the snail house? Maybe I'm also going to make it dark purple. So like this. Yeah, I think that works nice. I think I like that. So I try to use as few colors as possible. So I think these yellow eyes are also kind of funny. So maybe a bit lighter. So I'm trying to use as few colors as possible. So here maybe make these purple. This one also purple. And let's use these dark purple. So again, I think for this one also purple, but then maybe a bit more less saturation. So something like this. What happens when we put those layers of? Then we have this. Okay, the next step is I think I take the sketch and make that layer a bit less visibility, something like this. And now I'm going to start, yeah, start painting. So first, so sometimes I do duplicate these folders to have some kind of save for it. So here, so I duplicate this folder so I have some kind of backup. So here, oh, turn off this layer and make them really round. This here, and I also sometimes get the questions, when do you turn off your layer with the sketch? And now you can see I turned it off. And I did that because I want to focus on this eye. And I don't need the lines as a guide. And sometimes I do need those lines as a guide. So then I'm turning them back on when I need them. You see that a bit later, you will see that. So we have this here. And then let's make this darker, so like this. Some lights. Maybe make this part extra light. So here you can see I'm using those color tools there. I think it's a separate video to go really in depth about that. So then adding here, so just darker light around it. Maybe adding a little bit darker edge here. So something like this. Maybe adding some kind of highlight here. So like this. And so now to see how that looks. Okay, that's looking quite okay now. So now let's do this one, turn this off. So painting does really, yeah, it's something that takes time. But I thought maybe it's interesting to show the whole process so people can go along. So using this soft brush again to make this side darker and this side light. So something I like. These edges dark. So something like this here. And yeah, let's add that also here, taking this hard brush. You can see I'm switching a lot between those brushes, but I use these really basic brushes, so it's not too fancy. So what I also do is sometimes I use this hard brush, but then I turn off the how's it called, the transfer. So something like this. So now let's do those eyeballs. And later we can come back to it. So it doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. I just want to have the basic stuff now. I think it's better if it's a little bit more orange and a little bit black. I'm trying to avoid too much black in my drawings because it always gets so dirty when you're using a lot of black in your drawing. So here, oh, use separate one. So here, so this one. And I always like some reflection light with those outer edges here. So I think this works fine. So those eyebrows, taking the brush because they're a little bit too hard edged because of the lasso tool. Oh, turn this off. So making these nice and more, a little bit more organic. Find those edges. And then here. So when you're learning these, I also get a lot of questions about how long did it took you and etc. And I don't believe that's really that important. More important, especially when you're starting out as an artist, is that you learn the techniques and take your time for it. Even if it takes you a whole day to make a cool drawing, that's more important than you do it in 1 hour or just saying something. So don't feel too pushed about it. So let's go start with that head. So here, oh, going around like this here, and then here, make this all around. Normally, I do that selection process a little bit more secure, so this already looks a bit better. Also the same. I'm only showing how I work. And I know a lot of digital artists that do work a little bit different than what I do. So there's no one way of drawing. So I would recommend to play around and see what works best for you. And even I'm also always playing around a bit and see where it goes. So sometimes I even change the whole color scheme when I'm working. So here, let's change this. Oh, here I can use those lines. Yeah, later I think I will draw in those cheeks because I think that makes this character really cute, those cheeks. So here, going around here, and then around here, here. So now taking a soft brush and I think I will make this a little bit darker here. This just this more orange color, so no black. Maybe this is a little bit too orangey. I don't know. Don't know yet. So sometimes also when using white, it also feels also a bit bad. So I'm using more yellow here. Yeah, I think that works more better. It's too much gold now. So maybe I'm drawing a little bit orange over it to see if that works better. A bit of reflective light there. Skip to this one. Here this orange. Here this edge should be a bit darker. So here, this dark edge. And then here maybe a bit of shadow. So maybe a bit of yellow here. See how that looks. Okay, it's starting to look something. So now we have this. And I want to have this one in front of the head. Let's put the head behind here. Yeah, it works. So let's make this dark. Spotlight. But I don't like the transition there, so maybe take a soft eraser and erase these edges out. So something like this. I think that looks decent. So here, a bit of shadow there. And here, don't like that edge there. Something like this here. So now we have this, turn on those layers. Right, let's have this shape better. Let's paint it. So I'll make this part a bit darker. Here around the edge can be even a little bit more dark. Oh, too much, I think. So a bit like that there. Also do that a little bit more here. Some darker color. And again, you can see I'm also just trying out things and see if that works. So let's do this snail house now. Let's take this hard brush. And let's turn this off. Come around. Come around here. Around there. And then here. Like this. So let's turn on this. Let's take this soft brush. And let's make this side darker. Although I think it's already, I don't want to go much darker than it already is. So maybe I just want to make this a little bit lighter. So maybe, no, maybe make this a little bit whiter. Or something like this. I don't know. I'm not really happy with that. Maybe I'm Control U and changing those colors a little bit. So yeah, I think that works even. It's more pink. Or maybe more of this. Yeah, I think actually this works maybe. So here you can really change lots between colors to see what works. Green is too much separate. I think this makes it too. Yeah, I think I like this reddish. I'll go more red. I think I want to stay a little bit purple. So let's do this. So I would advise you to play around. So I start really basic with using the typical basic rules using opposite colors or second, how's it called? I don't know out of my head at this moment. Secondarily, color scheme, etc. All these things I'm explaining in different lessons. And now I want to, and then sometimes later I break it a little bit, but I use it to start. So maybe making this a little bit darker. Yeah, this could work. So like this. So then making the selection here. So like this here. And then selection here. So like this. And then we have this going right here. So like this, making this a little bit darker. Then here, like this. Sometimes I zoom out to see how it all looks. So maybe make this again, making a selection here. Making this a bit lighter. A bit too much. Afraid. Going back. Then, like this here. Then, so I want to make this shadow more blur. So I go to filter, blur, gushing blur. And then I think this button is on. Let's turn off those layers. So filter, blur, gushing blur. Something like this. And then erase this part a little bit. Like this, because the shadow that's closer to the character is a bit darker. Turn off this layer again. Let's start drawing this mouth. So taking this harder brush, then drawing this mouth. Here's the line, like this. And then selection here. And I'll make this brush soft. So like this here. And making a cheek here. So like this. Turn off those layers. Behind this part, is this something? So when there's a layer and I think it's empty, I press Ctrl T and then it says this. It means that that layer is empty. So it's something I find useful to do. Putting this here. Let's add this at the head. So like this here. So here. Now we have this. Let's add these little lines to it. So making this more harder brush. And then let's draw in these lines. So like here. And then here. And here. And here. And also do that for the shell. So there's a line going here. Let's erase it here. Let's add one here. 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 So now we have done these ones. Let's turn this off. Now it's starting to look like something. maybe give this, maybe we give this a little bit of an edge. Make this a little bit darker, a little bit redder. So in this color, you can see that I'm also using making these colors a little bit more red, etc. So that is also really important that you do that a little bit. So let's see, what are we going to add more? Maybe a little bit of shadow. And now it's really the part where you can start adding in all those little details, like for example, like on the cheeks. And then sometimes if you want to change the color of that, you can go to Ctrl U, colorize, make this a little bit, you give this a little bit of color, just fine. Does this work? Maybe I also want to have this a little bit of a highlight here. And maybe it would have been funny if we had a little bit of an overbite. But no. Maybe I want to keep it this one really clean and basic. Here, a little bit of shadow. So here in this stage, you can really think about how realistic do you want to make it. Do you want to keep it a little bit cartoony-ish or more realistic, etc. And now we can also, what I also sometimes do is I add some more darker spots, like here, here. Not too hard. This there. Maybe also here. And using this color, making this black. Here. Here. Not too much, just on some couple spots. So like this here and there. Let's see. I think I shouldn't add too much details here. I want to keep it all a little bit cartoonish, simple. So here and this color there, and here, and erasing this a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks okay. So another thing we could do is adding some highlights and make a new layer and put in a folder and a mask. And you can make a folder. Let me show how I actually did it. So I select this layer, Control press on that icon. Then I make a new layer. I put this layer in a folder. You can press this icon or press Ctrl G. Make sure it's in this folder. And then press this button. And that makes it a mask. So on this layer, we can use the soft. We can use the soft brush. We can make this light. So I think this. Let's make this a little bit pinkish. I don't want to make it too standard. So here. So we have this here. So you could do that, or you can just draw in the shape with this one. So sometimes that mask is better to use, especially when the drawing gets more complex. Could be useful to work with. So here. So something like this. think I want to add more shadow there. So like this. Maybe here these lines. I think I want a little bit erased here. So it feels a bit more organic. So now we've painted this this character. So maybe I want to have some light here. And yeah, you can choose to try to add some more details to it or not. It depends a bit on the style you want to draw in. So that is how I would paint a character like this.